everyone! Welcome to another episode of So Not Scary. In today's episode, I'm going to show you 3 different ways of how to tie a knot in thread for hand sewing. Now if you're new here, this is a beginner sewing channel, so we talk all about absolute beginner sewing tutorials, tips and tricks. And if you are in a rush, check out the description down below because there are video chapters there in which you can click on the exact part of the video that you want to watch and just watch that instead of watching the whole video in case you're in a rush. So without further ado, let's get started. So here in front of me, I've got 3 different things: a needle, some thread, and a pair of thread snips. And the first thing I'm going to do is start by threading my needle. Here we go. Right, my needle is now threaded. Let's get on with tying the knot in our thread. Method number 1 is what I like to call the amateur. And this is really the very first method that most young kids or beginner sewists use, which is just tying a very simple knot. So they take the end of the thread and they make a loop, just like kind of like tying shoelaces or tying a knot in a rope. See that? Just a simple loop knot, and that's what absolute beginners do. Because do you see how thin that knot is? If I put it down, it's hardly any bigger than the width of this thread itself, so it's not going to lock on very well to the fabric. So that's method number 1, but that is not my preferred method of tying knots. Method number 2 is what I like to call granny's fingers, and that's because my grandma always used to use this method for tying knots in her string when she was hand sewing. And yes, every single time she used to use this method, she would lick her finger. But because we are filming a video here, I'm not going to be all gross on you. So here I've got a piece of wet felt, and I'm going to moisten my finger on that piece of felt. There it is, all gone. Now let me moisten my finger. So you can see my finger is a bit shiny. Hope you can see it. So it's wet, and that's going to help us tie this knot. What you do is you take the end of the thread and you make a loop like that. Okay, so the tail is pointing towards me and the thread is making a loop. Now you just roll this tail forward towards the tip of your finger and you keep rolling. Roll it off your finger, grab it and pull. Okay, and that ends up in a knot. Okay, now this method is a bit of a hit and miss. Sometimes you're gonna get a knot like this. Sometimes that knot might catch this tail end of the thread as well, and you might end up with a fatter knot or a wonky knot. Okay, but because my granny used this method of tying knots all throughout her life, I know it works. Okay, so that's method number 2. Method number 3, and which is also my favorite method of tying a knot in thread for hand sewing, is what I like to call the ninja knot. And this is what we're going to do. First, I'm going to snip away Granny's fingers. Well, not Granny's fingers themselves, but you know, the Granny fingers knot. There we go. And now this is really cool. This is my favorite method. Watch carefully because this might save you a lot of time and frustration. You take the needle and you take the tail end of the thread and you point it towards each other like that, making a loop. Now you grab the loop at the base of the needle. Okay, so I'm grabbing it at the base of the needle. Now we're going to wrap this loop around the needle 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 3 times. Now pull it down towards your thumb, grab it by this same pinching thumb and finger, and now just slide it down. Slide, slide, slide. And voila! You are left with a knot. And it's a good size knot. It's not going to go anywhere when you sew with it. It is going to catch on to all sorts of fabrics. It's nice and secure and really easy. Do you want to see it one more time? Because I'm right-handed, my needle's in my right hand, the tail is in my left hand, okay? Now we point them towards each other. Grab it by the base. Okay, grabbing it by the base, loop the loop around the needle 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Drag it down nice and taut. Pinch it. Now pull or slide it through. Slide, 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 and voila! There it is. That's your perfect ninja knot. So there it is, guys. 3 different methods of how to tie a knot in thread for hand sewing. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, hit that like button or comment down below about what is your preferred method of tying a knot in thread for hand sewing. If you haven't done so already, consider subscribing because here we talk all about fun beginner sewing projects, tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you guys soon. Bye!